I had no idea that I would go down this path. The predominant view of the people I grew up with was to become a lawyer. That was what everyone aspired to around me, which is sort of funny since I didn't know any lawyers and had no idea what the law involved. And when I got to college, I looked into it a little bit and realized that probably wasn't for me. I was always a good student. And I kind of looked around. I think most people go through these moments where you're trying to find a path. And I've always had a soft spot for technology and innovation and always had a soft spot for economics, believe it or not. I got more and more interested and started going down that path and applied for a PhD and enjoyed it a great deal, had a lot of affirming things that said this was a good path for me. And I've stayed on it ever since.
Yeah, and you've had a chance to either study at or be a professor at at least five different universities at
Yes.
Berkeley, Stanford, University of Illinois, Kellogg School of Management, Harvard Business School. So you have this unique perspective because you've been through to so many institutions and spent some time there. So why did that happen in the first place, and what you learned from these different environments?
Well, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. My father is a CPA, or it's passed away now. It was an accountant, and in Fremont and Palo Alto, and had many connections into the old generation of Silicon Valley that's no longer around. And I just grew up with that, so didn't realize anybody cared. Honestly, it's just what I grew up with. I went to Berkeley because it was the local school. Um, Went to Stanford because the thing I wanted to study at the time, they did pretty well. And there were a lot of people there who were studying innovation and technology and history of that, which I found very interesting. I would have stayed in California had somebody hired me, but I got a job where I got a job. When you become a professor, you just go where the students are and where there's an opening. The University of Illinois had an opening that has an engineering school. So I got a combination of business, economics, and engineering students. Wonderful place to teach. I'm very happy teaching there. Um, and quite honestly, just life intervened. I got engaged and married, and my spouse worked in Chicago. And that gave me reason to look into moving. And Northwestern Business School, that's Kellogg School of Management, was looking for somebody to teach technology strategy at the time. And I was available. And so I moved. And that worked out really well for 18 years. And then, as I said, Harvard called and I was ready for a change. And they offered me a really wonderful job doing this for 10 years.
And did you have a mentor or mentors who help you along the way with your career and this path that you have been on? Maybe your
Yes.
own professors or.
Yes, very much. And I'm very grateful very grateful for that. It's actually a very hard question for most people to find models in the world to serve as something they can imitate or learn lessons from. When I was young, I had one older cousin who had pursued a PhD in physics, and that was very inspiring. I had a college roommate who was also just willing to indulge his curiosity, and especially in college, I met a number of people who just were inherently curious and unapologetic about it. And I found that inspiring. And especially among my teachers at the time, there were several professors at the time who were like that. Then in graduate school, in particular, there were four people who I was especially close to. Tim Bresnahan, who I still continue to write with, Paul David, who employed me, and we wrote one paper together. And he's a very inspiring character, since passed away. Nate Rosenberg, who's also an economic historian like Paul David, and has since passed away as well. Really elegant writer. And Roger Knoll, who is well known in the telecommunications world. And I would say those four were probably the most inspiring to me.
Mhm.
Uh, I took different things from them. And then I was fortunate in my first job in Illinois. A fellow named Pablo Spiller took me under his wing and showed me some of the ropes. That was really valuable. Uh, Again, in every place I've been able to find people who've been very helpful. And I try to do that now for junior colleagues today. Feel like you can pass that on.